In today's episode, we're building a Jeep. We've never built or worked on a Jeep before, so not really too sure what we're doing, but we're gonna give it a red hot crack, see how we go.
If you want to get a close up of a world, mate, that's a perler right there, buddy.
That's the one, mate. You stand next to that one then.
Dime bags, baby. Oh, I think I'll be flexing up, but
Hey, look at the flex on that.
Lakin has ordered this all from America, and he was unaware that left-hand drive cars have the steering box and the panhard on the opposite side of the chassis, and it's wrong.
Proudly supported by Opus Campers, Ultimate 9, Tread, Superior Engineering, GME, and in part by
So the Jeep is not actually our car, it's Lakin's, Demi's brother. You would have seen him in a couple of recent episodes in the Triton. He was having a red hot crack in it, but I think he wanted something a little bit more capable.
Yeah, he's seen what you can do,
Yeah.
and he thought, I want a piece of that.
Yeah, and so he went to something that he thought would be more reliable, more capable, went with a Jeep. Debatable.
I reckon he's tried to one-up us.
Yeah,
he's trying to one-up us.
He's trying to one-up us. So he's bought this. He bought it for about just under 10 grand. Basic, what is it? It's a JK Jeep.
I don't know the exact model, but yeah, it's an early-ish coil spring Jeep, short wheelbase, coil front and rear, solid diff front and rear.
Which are the two main things you want for a capable four-wheel drive. So it's a good base to start with, but it does require a fair bit of work. He's already got a fresh paint job on it, so it's looking bloody beautiful.
Yeah.
It's got the bull bar, and he's put a winch on there. He's got some sliders, snorkel, put some nice seats in, a few bits and pieces. And then he's given it to us, and he said, have fun, take over from here.
And what else? It's twin locks,
Yeah,
33s.
twin locked and 33s.
So it's already going to be pretty capable, but he said, no, I want it to be more capable than that. So what have we got? Well,
let's grab the camera. Let's go have a look at some of the stuff we're going to be putting in. Now, first thing, most of this episode is going to be suspension install, or probably all of this episode, because this ain't no copper coils and shocks suspension. Nah. What have we got here? He's went with the world's wildest kit.
So this is a very good off-road kit from America. It's imported over, so it's long arm front, long arm rear. I'm pretty sure it's like a full triangulated 4-link in the rear. There's a new drive shaft with an extra fancy cardan joint, so, you know, because it's going to have that much flex, he needs a different tail shaft.
High steer in the front, I know.
Yeah, high steer, so full high steer kit.
5-inch.
It's like long travel 5-inch. You may say, why is there a whole diff housing over there? So he's bought this car and it's got a bent front knuckle, which is the housing. So we've got another one, we're gonna have to switch that in, full cut off chassis, weld on the chassis. It's gonna be a bit on in this episode.
It's gonna be a big job, but we're pretty excited, keen to get it done. It'll be interesting to see how all this comes together. It's a little bit different.
Yeah.
And you might be thinking, well, what's Tyler going on board a hoist? What's going on here?
Nah, we're just at a mate's house. Tyler asked me, hey, can we do this with jack stands? And I said, I don't think we can.
It's not, like, we'll get most things done without a hoist, but this is just...
This is impossible.
All right, so where are we gonna start? What's our plan?
Look, I reckon the first step on this lift gear is we're gonna get a laptop out and have a look at the instructions, because I've got no idea. There's so much stuff here. So first step, we're just gonna remove the tyres, sway bars, the belly pan. We're gonna have to hold the transmission up, and then we're gonna do the exhaust. So for the longer control arms, you need a different exhaust pipe which they supply, so the arm clears. Well, this modification here, mate, sway bar isn't low enough, so they've cut it, and then just put a piece of bloody rod in there. But it hasn't broken, has it? So is it stupid if it works?
I don't know, but
Stupid if it works, mate?
whoever did this kit, they did some budget home modifications.
Let's see how long the arm's gonna be.
They're gonna be huge. So that's just gonna give it a heap more flex, and suspension geometry is gonna work much better.
The arms are limiting for how much flex and how much rear steer. So heaps longer, you can drop heaps further. And still keep it riding good instead of that being at this angle all the time.
In the instruction booklet for this job, it says 23 hours. You have a lot of bolts to do this. Don't want to come off. It's going to be about 96 hours.
What did they say this car was used for before we bought it?
Beach driving.
So I'm pretty sure this is pretty common on these. Like these things don't play the game.
So we'll make it play the game.
So the first part of the job, they say, is to install this, which, you know, you cut it up here somewhere and make that join so it clears the arm up here. That's going to be in there, but you also have to get a smaller diameter muffler and reroute the back to miss the upper control arm. So what I'm thinking is, this exhaust is pretty, how you going looking? I'm not an exhaust man either, we don't have the stuff to do it. So if I just unbolt the exhaust here, fit the full lift kit, go to an exhaust shop, supply them with this, they can then put this on to clear everything and then make a full custom exhaust. It's probably the easiest way. We don't really have what we need to do it, so someone else can do it. And it'll be a better job than what I did anyway.
Mate, what's the other thing we just discovered with this job too?
Well,
half our tools don't work.
Yeah, I forgot that it's American, so what do they use? Imperial.
So everything's like 9/16.
9/16, half inch instead of 12, 14, 3/8 and all that jazz. So we don't have spanners that are that, but we do have some sockets. But mate, SP tool shifter, mate, it's best of both worlds. Whatever you make it.
It'll get done.
For how rusty this is, comes apart pretty good. So far, other than that thing. You've got it?
Yeah. Now that we've got an actual good rattle gun, you realise how important they are.
Mate, I knew how important they are from the start, mate. That's why I've been begging for it. Got this arm out, now I'm going to cut this factory lower mount off.
Mate, that's her one bracket off.
Now that I've got that back hanger off, I've got this bracket that's going to bolt on where the new arms bolt to. So this bolts to where your original cradle goes. You hold it up there temporarily with the bolts, aftermarket out, and then you are meant to stitch weld this as well.
And that's where your lower's now going to bolt to, like
Yeah.
way up along there.
Yeah, so you have to cut these off because your arm runs
Comes
into...
all the way through. And the other end of that plate is where your front long arm will bolt to.
Yeah. And then there is another bracket for the uppers, which I'm pretty sure I have to cut that inner bracket out, and then this bracket out as well.
Bit of a test fit, make sure she lines up before we go welding things. What do you reckon about that? We got one out of about 42 arms sitting in their spot.
Probably isn't even ready to go in there yet, and I wanted to see if it was in the right location area. Because on this bracket, if you come over here.
Just pause.
Nah, you come over here, buddy. Come over here, check this out. See, right, they've got a notch for this cab mount, so you know that obviously has to be this side. You get it somewhere in the middle because these are slotted, like they go back and forward. But if we try and make it the same, it'll end up better.
Before we get too far into it, Berto's just doing a bit more research on the computer now, reading through all the instructions. It seems to be a pretty well put together kit from the States. Like, it's got all good instructions and everything seems to fit up nicely, but we're just trying to get the whole layout of it, or how it's all going to come together before we just go cutting bits and pieces and hoping that it's going to work. So you can see on this side, that's that big new long lower in. That's your old one there. You can see how much difference it is of the length of them, where they mount. Now we're just sussing the uppers as well, so they've got a big plate there that slides onto the side of the chassis. So the uppers are going to get moved from there all the way down to there. The plate fits around the brake lines and that, so you don't have to go moving any of them, which is good. And then same thing on the other side. There's your new upper mounting plate, and that's where your old one was there. You don't have to actually cut the old upper mounting plates off. It'll just go from the diff through to that new one there. And then it's going to be a similar idea on the front, which we're just sussing out now too. So your long arms, your bottom arm's going to come up into there, up to your new bracket, and then your upper's going to come up further along as well onto the chassis.
now that I've got both lowers in, this is bolted in place. They recommend that you stitch weld this in 4 spots, about 1 inch a weld, just so that when you undo these bolts, when the belly pan's on, your arms don't fall down. So it probably technically doesn't have to be, but we're going to do it anyway, so we keep it all nice and serviceable.
A few stitch welds along this plate now, which that'll then hold it in place.
So I've got the other side 2 lowers in. My next move's going to be to bolt in the other one and then the 2 lowers for this. So I'll be bolting that in, cutting both these lowers off and then putting the arms in, and then I'll move on to doing the uppers.
So just same thing that you've just done on the other side.
Yeah, we're doing it a bit out of order to the instructions, but that's because we don't have stand and everything. So if I do one arm like the lowers, then the diff won't just fall out, because they want you to pull everything out and then do it. Boom.
Got it, mate.
Boom.
That's our 4 lowers on, 1, 2, 3, 4, front and back. And then what we're doing now is just getting this big transmission plate or skid plate on, which is just a big beefier one than factory. Just if you are smashing it on the tracks, and then it also has the cutouts for your new arms as well to actually allow them to move and sit where they need to sit. We've got that in and mounted for the moment. We are going to have to get some different bolts, we think. The ones we have don't exactly work, but so just ignore them, they're just holding it in place. But we're coming down to the rear diff now, so you've already disconnected the sway bar, taken out the upper on this side.
Yeah.
And what we're going to start piecing together some work on this rear diff.
Yeah,
maybe.
so I've got this rear diff truss, which I sort of have to move some brake lines out of the way. I might even have to drill a hole for a breather, potentially. Yeah, there's a bit on back here now. We've done sort of the easy stuff first.
So that truss will sit up on here.
Up here,
And then the uppers are going to come into that.
Yeah, go from here out to
And then out
the
up to
chassis.
further up to the chassis there.
Yeah.
So it's just going to be about making all those uppers work now in this 4-link rear.
Yeah, correct. So yeah, this the rear on this removes this track rod as well. It's
Yeah.
a triangulated 4-link, so this is also why this car drove terrible. The track rod is not adjusted and loose.
Yeah, okay. Because this car drove like...
Had death wobbles.
Yeah, real bad.
Yeah.
Which was one of the reasons he wanted to put a nice kit in it. It's going to be a 4-link rear. What does that mean? Like
Triangulated, double triangulated 4-link rear.
And does that just mean it's like drives better? You don't have rear steer, you have more flex, that sort of thing?
Yeah, well the arms are very similar, if not, I think they're actually the same length. So you'll have literally minimal rear steer. Like you won't need a panhard because the triangulated keeps the diff from going sideways. On your conventional short arms straight, your diff can still go sideways. So you can get rid of this. It just improves everything all around. It's going to be really good, yeah. This is a very good kit.
Big step up.
Let's get it crunk up on that fun up in this dancery. We got y'all open, now you're floating, so you got to dance for me.
This custom bracket for his raised panhard, that's not factory. Getting your cut, mate.
It's in the way of the new
It's in the
4-link.
way of the new 4-link truss, mate. So I'm going to cut that, and then I'm going to check these mounting brackets line up, because that's how you line it up. You line that up, mark that, grind it, and then you've got to fully weld these things out. If you want to get a close up of a weld, mate, that's a fucking perler right there, buddy.
That's the one, mate. You stand next to that one then.
What do they say? Dime bags, baby. I've got the rear truss all welded in. breather still hooks up, locker still hooks up. So next step will be to remove the shocks and the coil springs, and then drill a hole in these seats and weld on the upper rear control arm bracket.
Just party with me, let loose and set your body free. Leave your situation at the door, so when you step inside, jump on the floor.
That was quick, wasn't it? Oh, chicken drumstick, yes you come. Oh, I think I'll be flexing hard, but
Hey, look at the flex on that.
yeah, look at that thing, eh? Wouldn't even move before that little arm was in there.
That's that rear diff or down disconnected. Now Berto can weld those upper control arm mounts on, one over there and one over in there.
Upper brackets are welded on. Now it's time to poke these arms up in the hole.
Look at this, 4 links in. What do you think about that?
Just look at my handiwork.
That's bloody
Look at
beautiful.
it. It looks good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I need to, next step on the job is I've got to drill a hole in the middle of this because there is a bump stop spacer and then also a coil retainer. So I need to drill a hole, screw it in, and then we put it in when we put the thing in, but we just need to get the hole ready to go. This is a bump stop spacer and a coil retainer all built in. So they've got it slotted so that it'll sit like this and hold the spring in so that the spring can't come out. See, they're self-taper, they got little slots and they're tapered. So, left before you got a focus, didn't I? This will sit here, that'll sit in there. This goes through, threads in. Then that's a bump stop extension for your bump stops up here to come down and hit. And that's also a coil retainer so your coils can't fall out with all this flex.
You're done.
Done.
Back's pretty much all buttoned and up and in and
Yep.
together.
So still got to bleed the brakes, but everything's bolted in, done up tight, other than these lower ones because they've got a bush. The other ones are Heims, so I've done them up because they just rotate wherever they want. It's a nice kit. Everything's in there. Everything looks good. We obviously haven't set any of the arms or anything, but that'll be a wheel alignment shop jobby.
Onto the front now.
Onto the front. Yep, correct. Down the front of the car now. What's on next is I'm gonna pull these upper arms out so I can cut the upper bracket off because it's in the way of the new arm, and then I still have to weld the new upper brackets on as well. So. I've got the upper mounts welded on. Before I put them in, I have a new track bar and it's got a lowering piece that you have to weld to the chassis, which is this. So I'm going to get all this out of the way and then we're going to figure out how this exactly goes up there, and then I'll put that on, put the arms in, we'll be nearly done.
And what's the purpose of that bracket? Like, how's that help?
So this lowers your track bar, which I suppose is called a panhard. So the flatter you have that while at ride height, the better your car drives. Currently it's all messed up and doesn't really fit very well because it's already pretty jacked up, so we have a nice kit to fix all that. I don't even know if that's stock, but it was already hitting on the front of the diff.
Update, what is about half hour later, and we've worked out I've run into a major problem with this kit. What's happened?
What's happened is Lakin, Tyler's brother-in-law, has ordered this all from America, and he was unaware that left-hand drive cars have the steering box and the panhard on the opposite side of the chassis. So he's ordered a high steer kit to fix all the steering geometry, and it's wrong, and all the panhard stuff is also wrong. So the back doesn't matter because it is a four link, like triangulated four link, doesn't have a panhard, but the front isn't going to work. And you can't exactly just call up these blokes and say, hey, do you do this? Because they're asleep right now, they're in America.
Yeah.
So we're in a bit of a pickle.
So we worked out like this bracket and that bracket we could get remade to match the side, but this one here, that's a bit different. That's not just you ask a fabricator to make that.
No, that's not happening. So what we're going to do, we're going to finish off just with the lift kit by putting, spring shocks, maybe some brake lines in the front, and then the high steer and everything can stay off because we can't do it.
Yeah.
And it's probably still going to drive terrible.
So we'll have to try and work out a different plan, whether or not there's someone else that makes a high steer kit, or we'll try and contact them and see what the company has to say about it. But
yeah, potentially they'll make a right-hand drive one, but I probably doubt it being America because they don't have any. Rubicon Express.
It's a few weeks later, we're back again and we have ourselves a game plan moving forward with this Jeep after none of the high steer kit worked in the front because it's all for an American vehicle. So Lakin called him up and yeah, they sold him a kit to Australia that doesn't actually fit an Australian vehicle, and you can't get one to fit an Australian vehicle. There's no such thing as a high steer kit, apparently, for an Australian Jeep. So we're gonna have to try and get that sent back, and then we've done some research and we've gone to the next best thing, which is a Iron Rock off-road heavy-duty over-the-knuckle steering system. So it's a tie rod and drag link with a heap of bracketry, and what's it do, Berto? It just makes it sit differently in the front.
Yeah, so it goes over the knuckle, so it raises your steering up, and then yeah, it's to suit like a 3 to 8 inch lift, so it'll fix all these bumps there and make all the steering arms the right angles.
Bring all the geometry back to nice, make it steer and drive nice as it should. Unfortunately, you can't just chuck a huge lift in a vehicle without changing some geometry, otherwise it'll just drive horribly.
Like it did on the way here.
Yeah, like oh yeah. So Verto's just opening all this up, piecing it all together, and then we'll start installing this in the Jeep.
What I've got to do now is we've got this little tapered cone situation, because the original tie rods have, your tapered ball joint where we use a bolt. So you get this, so then it adapts to a bolt, and the bolt has no slop in it. So you just hammer that one in flush. Now I've got to go get the bolt washer orientation they want, and I'll install it on top of this instead of underneath it. So it's a double nut, so you do these up onto each other and then they can't undo. Well, this one can't undo. This is a nylock as well, so it shouldn't come loose.
And where this sits is pretty close to the radiator. There's still like a gap there, but we're gonna have to...
When it's down, I've got to make sure it clears when you're fully turning. We've got both the steering arms installed, how they're meant to be, nice and tight and the correct angles and everything. So now they're in, I've got to get the original panhard track rod in, because we don't have one that is any better than that fits, because everything's for that left-hand drive. But it's still going to be at a bit of a funny angle, so we're going to have to maybe make a bracket or something to make it all sit nice, but we'll do that in the future. We're just going to get it in for now and back going.
Yeah, and we don't have a steering dampener that fits either, so we're just going to leave the steering dampener off for the moment.
Yeah, we should, my car doesn't even have a steering dampener.
Yeah, then you don't have to have them.
E-Bud Chickadee D.
Yeah, we're good.
Rightio, so next on the suspension kit list, I have to install these 5/8 engine spacers, and that's because we've installed that drop-down subframe with the bash plate. So the engine fan is currently on the radiator shroud, so I need to lift that engine up to account for it. It also corrects the tail shaft angle slightly, keeps it all in line. So they give us a couple of flat plates. The engine mounts actually have studs on them, so they've got some male nuts. So they're like they'll go up in through this and screw into the original stud, because you obviously can't extend the stud, but that's how they do that, and then just some longer bolts. So we'll hook in, we'll get that done. Boom, 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 one of these. So now I'll go up, put this bad unit under there.
You can see in there, that there is where the engine space is going to go. Obviously one on this side and one on the other side. So that's it. All the suspension's back together, mate. She's pretty much done, other than the fact that it now needs to get lowered down on ground height so you can tighten up all the arms that have bushes in them. 4-link rear, 5-link front. Mate, there's a lot of stuff going on here. It's a full kit.
It's more than that, mate. It's a double triangulated long arm full link, mate. It's a mouthful.
This car is going to be ready for action. But actually, the other thing, did we tell them that there was a new front diff for this and now the new front diff hasn't gone in because we worked out it wasn't actually bent?
Well, we think it's not bent. We think it's just got a broken wheel bearing, which is it's pretty bad.
Yeah, so we don't want to replace the whole front diff when we think it's actually fine.
Yeah, because you can't just unbolt the centre out of that diff. You have to sort of build a diff in that other housing. So we're gonna make sure it is definitely bent before we change it.
But that's probably the end of this episode. That's a full suspension install done. There's a lot more things to do this Jeep, but so we need to organise a muffler now, and we're doing a full service on this thing. So wheel bearings, brakes, all your oils, fluids. It's a 30-year-old Jeep.
Yeah.
We're going to do a full check over.
Yeah.
There's probably going to be some things going on.
I reckon there's going to be lots of stuff going on.
So that's probably going to be next episode. And then she should be good. Hopefully, maybe we'll take her out on the tracks for a little test.
Maybe we'll take it without
Maybe.
you.
Yeah, we'll take it.
We'll test it. You can't do this to a car and not test drive
No,
it. You know what I mean?
yeah, it's a rule. It's a legal requirement.
But you imagine if there's something that doesn't work right,
Yeah.
and then we give it to him, he explodes something,
Yeah.
or something hits something, and then he's crying at us.
Yeah.
Not happening. We might as well just
Mate,
test it to be
take,
safe.
We'll take it straight up 6 stage.
Yeah, mousetrap. We'll roll it.
Down there.
Yeah.